I encountered a really disappointing case yesterday, and it's a perfect example of why I do what I do. So yesterday I saw a couple who's been struggling with primary infertility since their late 20s, actually mid 20s, and they've been struggling for years and have, gone through the algorithm and done all the right things, started with medicated IUIs, which didn't work, and then they eventually moved on to IVF. And they've been bopping around to different clinics, ended up having 6 rounds of failed IVF. The female partner has PCOS, and even though she gets a lot of eggs at retrieval, many of them tend to be immature. So she's starting out with a limited number to work with, and also had a lot of attrition and a hard time making those eggs into embryos. Either they would arrest before getting to the blastocyst stage or come back genetically abnormal. So round after round, a total of 6 cycles at 3 different centers, 2 of which are considered very reputable and well-known, and the same devastating outcome. And then finally, by the time they reach their late 20s, they're kind of told, listen, this is so weird. This is an anomaly. You probably just need to move on to donor egg. But a voice in their head said, there's got to be an answer. They had intuition. Something just didn't sit right with that statement. And they met with me. This was after going to the 4th clinic. But they met with me yesterday and they told me that they saw one of my videos. And at this point, they saw a video where I talked about if you have a low conversion rate from eggs to embryos, how that could sometimes point to something deeper, especially if it's unexpected in younger patients. It could point to an underlying genetic cause. So then they go to this 4th clinic and they ask for something simple that somehow had never been done or suggested before, karyotype testing for both partners to look at the structure of their chromosomes. And guess what? The answer was there all along. The partner, the male partner, was found to have a translocation. And this is a genetic rearrangement where a piece of a chromosome breaks off and attaches to the end of a different chromosome. It doesn't affect his health, but it can definitely lead to a much higher rate of having imbalanced chromosomally abnormal embryos. So suddenly everything made sense. The years of failed cycles, the bad luck, the low embryo formation rate, not a mystery anymore. It was just a matter of a biological underlying problem. This story is disappointing. It breaks my heart. I don't want to make people feel cynical or suspicious of their clinics or their doctors, but this should not happen. No one should go through 6 rounds of IVF and go to multiple clinics before someone thinks to run a basic genetic test. This is an example of why it's so important for you to be educated, empowered, to be armed with the right questions on how to advocate for yourself. Even the best clinics and the most experienced doctors are fallible. They can miss things, and it's not about the blame game. It's about raising awareness. When you understand your own biology and you're equipped with knowledge, you can change the entire trajectory of your journey. Because the truth is, information can be the difference between hopelessness and answers, between years of trying and finally having an answer as to why.